I am live at the courthouse of the Diddy trial on day 6, and this morning we saw the completion of the testimony of Rashard, an employee of Diddy, who is a musician who worked with him between the years 2004 and 2011. Now, she told over several incidents where she bore witness to Diddy being physically abusive to Cassie Ventura, and described the work environment which was toxic, and claimed that there were threats from Diddy that he would kill her if she spoke, if she revealed any of these different incidents to other people. Now, that was her direct testimony. It was a very strong cross-examination from the defense. That much of the time, the room that I was in was just gasping when she was crossed and had to admit that she had changed her story from what she had told the police, changed her story from what she told her own lawyers, and that her story has changed multiple times over the last year and a half since she started telling over about the abuse that she witnessed at the hands of Diddy. So for most of the people sitting in the room there, it was a fairly effective cross. Now, on redirect, there was efforts by the prosecution to try and rehabilitate her testimony by getting her to testify that Dawn had been trying to block out her memories of her time working for Diddy because it was just so toxic. Whether the jury took much from it, it's difficult to say. But that's all stuff you're going to hear from other people. I want to share with you what's really happening here. So I'll tell you that the objective of the prosecution, what they're trying to do is trying to show the impact that Diddy's toxic environment, the chaos of Diddy world, as Cassie has described it, that the impact that had on her mental state and how she felt controlled by Diddy. Because at the end of the day, as the defense will tell you over and over again, this is not a domestic violence case, this is about trafficking. In order to establish trafficking under 18 U.S.C. 1591, you need to establish that Cassie was actually acting because she was compelled to act, coerced to act, and engaging in commercialized sex because of that compulsion and coercion. And that's really what the fight here is about. And part of what the prosecution wants the jury to take from the testimony that we got from Dawn Rashard, and also from the testimony of Carrie Morgan, whose testimony I'll get into momentarily, is that we see this recurring pattern of Diddy gets mad, he gets violent, and Cassie's reaction is to curl into a fetal position or run away and then go back, while others are telling her, why are you doing this? Stop going back. And this brings us to the testimony of Carrie Morgan. Carrie Morgan is a longtime friend of Cassie Ventura, knew Cassie years before she ever met Diddy. They were living together as models in New York, and they were sharing an apartment and spending all their times together, and she describes how Cassie was her best friend and that they had a pretty clean-cut life, that Cassie never drank, she never did drugs, never did anything of that kind, going all the way up to 2004. Now, when they meet Diddy in 2007, she talks about how she learned about the relationship developing, and at first she thought that Diddy was nice and generous and that he could be somewhat intimidating. But as time goes on, she starts describing more and more control and violence and mood swings that she saw from Diddy. She also specifically recounted 2 different incidents where she saw that she remembers vividly where Diddy was allegedly violent to Cassie, one of them happening in Los Angeles, where she said that they were in a house that Diddy was renting out, and that she saw him putting hands on Cassie, and the 2 of them fled and were hiding from Diddy on a neighbor's staircase, laying flat down on the surface in order to stay away until he would cool off and to stay away from him. And that Cassie ultimately went back to the house, whereas Kerry went back to her own hotel. The second incident she recounted happened in Jamaica, where she said that she saw that he was being pulled, that Cassie was making a guttural scream from the other room and being dragged out by her hair. And then she said she went in to get her purse because she thought that they might need to flee Jamaica and they're going to need their money. And when she came outside, she saw Cassie on the ground, again, curled in this fetal position. This is a part of that recurring theme. And that Cassie never struck back, and during that period of time, this is in 2013, Cassie would never hit him or strike back in any way, shape, or form, and that she would just take physical abuse. And even during later years when she would start fighting back, that she never saw any sort of levels of of force from Cassie that resulted in an injury sustained by Diddy. When she tells over the story of what happened in Jamaica, she said that Cassie got up and fled into a wooded area, and that she and Diddy each grabbed their own separate golf carts going off to look for Cassie. It's almost like there's a hunt on. The way she describes it, I was envisioning that there's this hunt going on of the race to find Cassie, and she'll be rescued by the good guys who are trying to protect her, or by the evil Diddy. I'm listening to this and I'm thinking I need to get like a t-shirt that says "Mark Safe from Diddy." It sounds horrific, it sounds terrifying, and that they hid in a ditch there while Diddy was searching there, and hid in a ditch, which she said what felt like for hours. And that ultimately, after they had hoped that Diddy had calmed down, that Cassie went back. She said that she's had many conversations with Cassie about leaving Diddy, and that she never could, and when asked why, she said that he controls her house, her car, her career, and everything, and that she couldn't leave him even if she so wanted. She also said that various people who work for Diddy or in the Diddy world would continually be pushing Cassie to stay with Diddy. This likely plays into the RICO claims that the state plans on hoping to get a conviction on, that the entire team working around him was trying to facilitate this sex trafficking operation for many years. Now, she finally told over about an incident where she herself had been hit, allegedly struck in the back of the head, right behind her right ear by wood hanger. And this, when she talked about how Diddy came in, and she claims that Diddy was upset and trying to find out who Cassie was allegedly cheating on him with. This was during the period that she was forming a new relationship with her current husband, Alex Fine, and that he was at first choking her and then hit her with a wooden hanger, that Cassie was in a different room when it happened, and that she ended up fleeing. And when she wanted to file a lawsuit against Diddy for this assault, that she apparently, her lawyers made a legal claim, and Cassie is the one who came with $30,000 to settle that claim, and met with her in a pizza store and had her sign an NDA. And according to Carrie Morgan, her best friend of, at this point, 17 years, told her that she thought she was milking this entire situation. And she says she never spoke to Cassie again after that day in the pizza store. We have not yet heard any cross-examination of her story. I will tell you that on direct, Kerry seems relatively compelling. She said she's testifying here pursuant to subpoena. She has nothing to gain from this entire thing, and that she doesn't want to be here testifying, but that she's legally obligated to because the subpoena that was issued by the states. So it'll be interesting to see how well she hangs up on cross. But again, the objective here that we're seeing from the state is they're trying to pound home, because this is not merely a domestic violence case, it's a sex trafficking case. They need to establish that even though, and many times, that Cassie seemed like she was a willing participant in these freak-offs, in those voyeuristic sessions that Diddy was conducting, that to some degree, if not the overriding factor, is that she could not get out of this relationship, and that she was terrified of him, and that when he would get violent, she would turn into a fetal position. We even heard tell as to how she lost all her confidence, that when Kerry first met Diddy, at that point in her life, that Kerry describes Cassie as being extremely confident, and that shortly thereafter, that her confidence had been stripped away from her by various comments and insults to Cassie's looks or other talents that shattered her confidence. All of this is designed to paint this overriding picture that Cassie was a victim, and that Diddy was purposefully trying to groom her and condition her to be a participant in those freak-offs. That's what I got from this morning. I plan to drop another video later this afternoon, and I give details later this evening. If you like this type of coverage, I urge you to please like, share, subscribe, and make sure you hit that bell, because I'm here as a New York attorney covering this trial every day, giving you insights you're not getting anywhere else. Till next time, Godspeed.